Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sonia. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have my Neocitrin right here. Everybody is getting sick right now, and my husband's sick, and I'm really trying to be preventative because I have the immune system of a potato. So I'm really surprised right now that I am not sick, and I'm very thankful. So I've been taking lots of vitamins and drinking Neocitrin and trying to get lots of sleep and stay well hydrated. So I have my Neocitrin and my water, and I am ready to go. So I want to talk about intentional surrender today, and I want to talk about just like why that is such an important step in your walk with Jesus. So to do this, I'm going to give you a little bit of background about my own story, my own little snippet of my testimony, and we'll go from there. So let's just jump right in. I grew up in a Christian home, so I spent my whole life saying that I was a Christian. I cannot honestly remember a time in my life where I did not believe in Jesus. I have always believed in God and in Jesus, and that wasn't ever the problem. The problem was that as I got older, I was trying to ride on the coattails of my parents' faith, and I never was really working hard at developing it to be my own faith. And so this led to me really trying to have to serve two masters, essentially. I was trying to serve God and maintain this Christian image and go to church, go to youth group, all of those things, but I was like very much just a Sunday Christian, because the rest of the week I wasn't trying to, I just was serving the world. I cared honestly more about what the world and what my friends thought than about being a light to the world, about showing Christ's love, or about what Jesus thought of me. So, I mean, as I got older, this led to some pretty problematic behaviors, because I thought, well, if I love Jesus and I go to church and, maybe like read the Bible once a week and like do my routine prayers, which were very just like, dear Jesus, thank you for this day, thank you for everything you've given me, please forgive my sins, amen, kind of thing, then I was good. And so like I was really pushing my limits, because in my mind it was all very black and white, and like I could push, but I just couldn't go over that line. And so this led to me like partying a lot, but I would not too much because that would be over the line. But I was still like drinking, smoking pot, like I was always trying to push how far I could go sexually, because I thought like, oh well, as long as it's not sex, it's fine. And I see just like how wrong and twisted that whole mindset is now. And that is like something I would love to talk about. Like that could be a whole nother video in itself. So maybe I will make another video all about that, but I just don't have time for it today. But this mindset stuck with me until probably I was like 19 or 20. And so I was a mess, but I just didn't realize it. I thought I was still being a Christian, and like to everybody looking, like to my parents, I think like I hid how much of a mess I was well enough that they weren't too concerned. They just thought, it's just like a rough patch, like everybody kind of goes through it. But and I'm sure that is true, it was a rough patch, lots of people go through those things, but I wish I didn't. But I do realize that all these things that I am rambling on about are playing into my story now and are bringing God glory, I hope, because He's redeemed me from all of those things. But so anyway, always just chasing and striving, and I was never filled. Obviously, like nothing in the world can fill us except for Jesus, but I was trying to find it in people's approval and popularity and drugs and alcohol and guys' attention, in my successfulness in school, in how well I did in sports. I was trying to find it everywhere but in Jesus. And so, yeah, I was playing like rugby. Sports became a really big idol for me. I was playing competitive rugby, and it took up all of my thoughts most of the time. It was all I like really cared about doing successful in. But then one summer I got injured in playing rugby, and this summer I was supposed to play in a national championship. And when I dislocated my shoulder, it was 3 weeks before the championship, so I did not play. I actually didn't play rugby for the rest of the summer. And that caused me to really just like, well, I don't have this huge thing in my life taking up all this time anymore. So I started to look back to Jesus. I was going back to like young adults. I was trying to hang out with a lot of Christian people again. I was reading my Bible every day. Like I was really trying to get back into it. And then this opportunity came, which is actually so cool. The same week of the national championship, I had booked that week off work a long time ago when I had figured out I'd be playing on this team. And I had never really I hadn't told my boss that I was okay to work that week anymore. And then it turns out that a Christian camp needed volunteer camp counselors. And so I thought, well, I'm kind of trying to rebuild my relationship with Jesus. This would be a really good thing for me to do. Little did I know that I thought I would be helping other people and serving other people, which obviously I think I did a bit, but I was the one who was really just served and changed. And I was learning so much that week. These lessons for these young teenage kids they were speaking so much to me. And there were some kids there who were just digging into the word, and to see how much they loved God at such a young age, it was so inspirational. And it really just drove me. And then on the other spectrum, there was a lot of kids there who were really lost. And I saw myself at that age in them. I saw the pain, and I just thought, I want to help these kids, and I can't help them if I am in the same mentality as they are. And so I just learned so much that week, and I just felt like that was a huge turning point. I really, really just started to search for God, and I really just tried to implement all those things that I was learning. And then that fall, I went back to university. I'd been in my hometown for the summer, and I went back to my university town, and my shoulder was healed up enough that I was playing rugby again. I played for my university team. And but as soon as I got back to around all of my friends there, not all of them, but I kind of fed into this mentality of envy and jealousy and comparison and wanting to party and just super superficial things, that I was super falling into my old ways again. And I just felt super nasty inside, because now I knew better. I was trying to change my life for Jesus, and yet I was this nasty, angry girl again. And it wasn't fun. But then, oh wow, you can see all the snow outside. But then I started to just feel really sick. I had no clue what was wrong with me, and I tried to talk to people about it, but everybody just said you have to just keep pushing through, it's cold and flu season, whatever. So I just kept trying to push through, and it just kept getting worse, and doctors said all the tests were coming back normal. And I know now that I was developing a chronic illness called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which I still have, but I had no clue what that was. And it takes a long time to get a diagnosis with that. It took me about 3 years. So after I developed it, there was 8 months of me where I could barely function. I was just using all my energy to try to pass my university classes. I was not playing rugby. I wasn't going to the gym. I was not socializing with people. So all of these things that were a big part of my identity got stripped away. I had no social group anymore, because all of my friends pretty much were, not all of them, but a big majority of my friends were on the rugby team, and they all partied. And that all got taken away from me. And it was like, now that I don't party and I'm not going to practice and I'm not going to the gym, it felt like they didn't really want to be my friend anymore. Not all of them, but a vast majority of them kind of just stopped talking to me, stopped checking in on me. It was really, really hard. I was very alone. All of the things that I found my identity in felt like they had been stripped away. And I was angry at God because I had no answers. I didn't know why I was sick. I felt like everyone thought I was being a faker. And I just thought, like, God, you know what? I was trying to follow you again. I was trying to rebuild our relationship, and this is what you do to me. Like, you let me get sick. And so it was like a long period of time, probably like 7 months of me just being really sick, really alone, because at that point I was living 4.5 hours away from my family. My boyfriend, who's now my husband, at the time was living 2 hours away from me, and a lot of my friends just didn't really know or didn't really ever check in on me. They didn't know what was going on, or they didn't care to check in on me. I don't know, but I just felt very alone, and it was just a lot of me like wrestling with God and being angry, but at the same time, like, I was praying more honest, real prayers than I had in a long time. So I was very angry and I was very alone, and it felt like all of these things that I had worked for my whole life, which wasn't very long. I was only like 20 years old at the time or something. But all these things that I had worked for were like taken away. And I didn't understand why God could do this. But it was honestly the start of me truly building a relationship with God and truly seeking Him. And it was the beginning of me being humbled. I learned a lot of lessons through my journey with chronic illness and feeling like everything got stripped away with me. And I want to share a lot of them with you. And so I'm kind of like doing these videos as sort of like a Bible study and of things that I learned of like Jesus bringing me back into His arms, and just like there's so many things I learned. And today the one I really wanted to talk about was intentional surrender, because that was such a huge turning point for me. I remember one Easter Sunday when it was like after I'd been sick for these like 7 months and I'd been angry, and I was at church, and I don't remember what the pastor was talking about, but I'm pretty sure it was essentially like Jesus went to the cross for us, and He took all these things that we struggle with, and we need to essentially just surrender them to Him, to give them up, to stop holding on so tightly to all of these things that are holding us back. And to me, I was like, oh, like that is my sickness. I need to even give that up to Him. I need to trust Him with this. I need to give up my anger. I need to just give all of these things that are weighing so heavily on my chest. I need to give them to Him. And so right there in that church service, the pastor encouraged us to pray for strength and guidance to be able to surrender these things. And so I did that, and I prayed that God would give me the strength to be able to give these things up, that He would help me to trust Him and just to surrender to Him. And I immediately felt so much peace and joy like I hadn't felt in months. And I just realized like I need to let go, because I can't change the facts that I have this chronic illness. Like, I can be angry, I can be nasty, I can hold on to the sickness for so long, but it's not going to change the fact. And the only thing that is going to help me now is to give it to Jesus, to surrender it fully. I learned that I had to start to let go of the illusion of control. I need to accept that God truly loves me and that He is sovereign. And those two combined means that He has a perfect plan for me that is better than anything I could ever think of for myself. And that His plan, His sovereign plan, includes me because He loves me. And so it is such a hard, oh my gosh, sorry, I just keep I had to surrender it all to God, including the life that I had envisioned for myself, because I think that was one of the things I was so angry with. Like, I thought I deserved this life that I had in my head, that I had been putting in the work for, but I realized I never consulted God before saying, is this what you want my life to look like? I just went ahead and did it and was hoping He was going to follow behind and bless it. And He was telling me, like, I have a different plan. I have a different way for you to go. And as painful as it was, that included stripping away other things that I found my identity in. It included stripping away friends that might not have been healthy for me, and it just made me have to be dependent on him. I just want to look really quickly at 1 Peter 5 verses 6 and 7. It says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you." We need to humble ourselves under God and then cast all of our anxieties on him and trust that he cares for us. Because I honestly think that when we're not surrendering, it's out of a source of pride. And God showed me that when he humbled me. I was too prideful to ever humble myself before God, but he made it so that I didn't have to, but he made it easier for me by stripping all these things that I found so much pride in away from me. And then we have to, after we're humbled, we have to cast all our anxieties on him, trusting that he cares for us, that he's not gonna how do I say this? He is going to be there with us every step of the way, and he's bigger than our anxieties. It's God's job to plan it all, not mine. It's my job to be still and know that he is God, just as Psalms 46:10 says. He is the one who is going to make things happen, not me. I need to trust God's perfect provision and timing. I need to trust in the waiting, and I need to wait with expectant hope that he has a plan to prosper and not harm me. From Jeremiah 29:11. And that's obviously easier said than done. It's hard to do. I mean, we're not promised an easy life. Even Jesus knew he had to surrender to God's plan. Jesus was God in human form. He was with God in heaven. He knew God's character. He's one with God. And even still, let me just read you this from Matthew 26:39. Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Even though Jesus was perfect, that didn't mean everything was easy for him. But despite that, he trusted God the Father. He trusted the plan. He gave his life to God so far that he actually went to the cross and died for us because he trusted God's plan and he wanted God to get the glory. And as hard as it can be, it is something that we also have to do. We have to surrender to that extent. We have to trust God and trust his plan, even if that means we will be suffering. I want to look at Luke 9 really quick. Luke 9, 23 to 24. And he said to them all, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it." We need to take up our cross daily. We need to surrender daily to God and his plan. We can't look at the future and become anxious and think of all these things that are going to happen, and that's when we get anxious. But if we just focus on this day and we take up our cross this day and we cast our anxieties upon God today, that is when the most beautiful form of surrender is going to happen. And we're just saying, "God, here I am. We need to humble ourselves before God and say, I'm here. I'm not a lot. I don't have much to offer, but I want you to use me." And then we have to be able to fully trust and surrender. We have to know God, which means we have to spend time with him constantly. We need to be in prayer. We need to be in our Bibles every single day. Not only that, but we need to be a part of the body. We need to be grounded in believers who encourage, disciple, and teach us, who keep us on the straight and narrow, who check our egos, who love us, who build us up, who can see things in us that we can't see, and that and who we can serve. I mean, and when we do all of these things, when we cast our anxieties on God, when we surrender to Him, when we take up our cross daily, and when we just trust God and build this intimate personal relationship with Him, then we're training ourselves to keep our eyes upon Jesus. And that's something that I am going to be talking about in my next video, keeping our eyes on Jesus and the importance of that rather than keeping our eyes on ourselves or on the world or on our troubles. So, friends, I just want to really encourage you today that you will just learn to constantly surrender to God. That's something I still have to do every single day. Like, I'm still sinful. I still have my own agenda. I still want to do things for myself, and I still sometimes get upset that I have a chronic illness. But if every day I pray to God and I give it to Him and I consciously, intentionally say, God, have this. I don't want it. I can't do anything with this. It's just holding me down, and you know better. You have a better plan, and I want you to be in control of everything in my life. If we do that every single day, our relationship will become so much more intimate and real, and we will just really be in awe of who God is and His majesty and glory and His grace and His love. And even when hard things happen, we'll trust God even in the hard things, and we'll know God even in the hard things. So I just want to pray really quickly with you, and then I think that'll be the end of the video. So before I pray, I just want to say thank you for watching. I really hope that this made sense and spoke to you in some way. Yeah. Dear Jesus, thank you so much for who you are. Lord, I am so thankful that you have enough love for me to discipline me and to take things away that aren't good for me, even though it hurts. Because I know in the face of eternity, that's when it will matter. And Lord, I pray that my words today, even though they might not have been as concise as they should have been, I pray, Lord, that you will still speak through them and use them, and that people won't hear me, but they will hear you. And Lord, I pray for myself and for everybody who might be watching that we will all learn to surrender to you each day, that we will cast our anxieties upon you, and that we will take up our cross daily, Lord, to follow you even when it's hard. And Lord, I pray that you just work in all of us, and that we will serve you fully, not try to serve you and the world, Lord, but just you. I pray this in your name. Amen.